obviously they're inheriting a difficult fiscal situation. So you look at that and say, okay, you can understand some of their rationale, but I still think 27 billion to invest in clean energy and infrastructure is important. And I think a lot of the people I speak to are not really aware that that funding is now out there. So having a mechanism like the National Wealth Fund, I think, is a good starting point to make sure that deployment of those funds happens. We need to keep investing in the clean energy infrastructure. Great to hear that Iberdrola of Spain committed to 24 billion to invest in energy infrastructure, the national grid. So that public-private sector investment, I think, is going to be critical for the future of the UK, even though the government is in a very difficult financial situation. And we'll see what happens with the budget on the 30th of October.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Reeves talked about that National Wealth Fund working alongside the UK's existing structures to better crowd in private investment. That was her words.
Yes.
Said the team would be bigger. She said that there would be more freedom and an expanded suite of financial instruments, more economic risk capital. And basically to ensure that the National Wealth Fund's investments can be even more catalytic. They have to deliver, though.
They do.
And that's the difficulty.
They do. And I think part of what they have to do, and I've been in a number of discussions recently, is to be clear about what this will do, how to access this funding, and how do you actually implement it successfully. And once you start implementing it, how can you be transparent about showing what it's doing? I think that's absolutely critical to get right. So you've got a good chunk of money there. It's less than what was originally envisioned, but that is very important to get that money deployed and deployed quickly. And I think that's the other thing about the investment summit is it's great to bring in this money, but now speed is of the essence. How do you demonstrate that all of this investment money, both from the public sector and the private sector, is really going to deliver on the growth objectives? They've given themselves a 5-year window, but I think they need to show that they're getting some quick wins along the way. The one piece that was missing for me yesterday, and I may have missed it, but I think there needs to be a lot more focus on skilling up the British workforce. And I don't think we're talking about the numbers that we're talking about in the National Wealth Fund to do that. That will deliver the productivity gains in the near term that I think this government needs to show whilst we deploy these longer term infrastructure investments, which are going to take a longer time to deliver the return to the British economy. So to me, how do we focus on people in the near term whilst in parallel build that infrastructure that's going to deliver for the long term? I didn't get that full picture yesterday, but I hope more of that is to come.
Yeah, okay. Having said that, with the budget expected, Starmer pushed back against the idea that there would be capital gains tax increases or an increase to as high as 39%, but he wasn't saying much more than that, obviously. I mean, do you see entrepreneurs in the tech space, in the venture capital world, leaving the UK? The US has got a deeper capital base. Some people see entrepreneurs drifting to Europe. IPOs as a share of the European space are dropping. Do you see those entrepreneurs going?
I see a small number of them going. And wherever I travel in the world, Caroline, I go to many different tech hubs. The U.S. has such a pull for entrepreneurs and founders of scaling businesses. And I see that everywhere. I think with a lot of the changes that this government is proposing, that we're hearing the London Stock Exchange propose in terms of reforms to make it easier to IPO here, to, if you look at the British Growth Partnership, to get the scaling capital needed for the scale-up businesses that we have here. In the near term, we'll probably see more drifting away. I understand that. But as these reforms and as these initiatives get implemented, I'm confident that if they're done successfully and correctly, that we will have the right capabilities here so that an entrepreneur doesn't have to look for expansion overseas or moving overseas. They can do a lot of that growth right here in the UK.